Welcome in, Raiders. We're just doing our pre-show, getting things ready behind the scenes, but we figure thank you, Davey, for bringing so many friends in today. We give you a behind the scenes, and so Davey can join live, and we'll start the audio podcast after Davey joins and we've tested everything out. We usually do a pre-show for a couple of minutes anyway, but I appreciate Davey for doing a pre-podcast show. I think that's the first ever that's ever been like people have done music and then rated into my show before, but never like actually talk about sports and some of the stuff that we're going to talk about. And so it was a great show. I was actually over there while I was putting my kids to bed. So thank you for that. And usually I'd ask a raider like how their show was, but I was in it, so I kind of know how it went, which was great. And welcome to my mods, Andy and Champ. And Champ is going to be on in a little bit as well. And so we got Davey in the wings. I'll let him bring in his camera and audio whenever he is ready. And there he is. So welcome on in, Davey. So we're just doing a pre-podcast talk. We do this for a few minutes usually before we get going. How are you doing?
Good. Welcome in. I mean, it's a nice. And I was just saying on our channel before we raided over here, I'm really excited to meet you, Anna and Gil. Welcome. It's nice to meet you. How are you tonight? Thrilled to be part of this tonight. Thank you.
Thrilled to have you.
Yeah. I
It's
said
exciting.
this is so cool, and I'm dying to know. So you're in LA?
Yeah.
What
Kings
part?
fan, tried and true, but also
Hey.
fan following a lot of teams.
Yeah.
No, I love that. But I lived in LA too, so I'm like, oh, anytime there's a California connection, where
Here we go, California girl.
Exactly.
You take the girl out of California, but not the
And
California
she's
out
a
of the
big
girl.
40 and she's a big 49ers fan, so
Yes.
that's going to be exciting that we're going to have her do a crossover segment. And so we'll begin to discuss that, because I wanted to talk to her last week after their win and didn't get a chance to, and so now
so
we
sick.
get to talk about both of them a little bit. And I know that Davey's a big NFL fan, so that'll be exciting. And I realize it's funny because I've known you both for so many years, but I've never really put two and two together that Davey has never been on a hockey segment of our show. The only time we've ever talked hockey was in the Olympics. And so that was a very different segment a couple
Very
of years
cool.
back. But it's great to have Davey on the hockey part of the show and not just the stuff where I'm sure we'll have him back on for like March Madness and things of that nature, which I'm very excited. It's not that far away. But yeah, Davey knows a lot about a lot of sports. He's in fact had a sports show longer than Sports on the Hill podcast over on YouTube. But his personality on Twitch, I would say, is very different in the sense that he does a sandwich show, which is an interview show while you eat sandwiches.
Oh my
It's
God.
great. I have done it 3 times, I want to say now.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's funny because we do it like on the same day every year. And we relive sandwiches and sports and camaraderie and stuff like that. And so
Oh my God, I need to be part of that. I love sandwiches.
yes.
Oh yeah, come down, Anna. We love that.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's a great show. It's basically, I think of it as, I've always liked Hot Ones, where they interview with spicy food.
Yeah.
One of my favorite YouTube channels. But this is that, but sandwiches, which is great because you get to learn about sandwiches from all over the world. Because we've had people from all over the world join you, and it's really kind of cool to see how they great interview about music and culture or whatever those people are into.
I don't want to sidetrack things too badly, but Davey, like maybe later on, I can get a message with you, get connected with you somehow. I got to know what your take on the best BLT there is.
Oh, that's a great question.
I'll let him answer that quick
I
question.
love me a good BLT. I'm a big fan of those. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, what a question. Is that better, by the way, the audio? Is that better?
Yeah, no, it sounds good to me.
Okay,
actually,
good.
you guys keep talking. I'm gonna actually grab my headphones and I'll be right back.
Okay. All right, so that's good. Give me time to answer this question. Okay, so I had a really good one at Mel's Drive-In, which is like kind of like based on the one from the movie, American Graffiti. So that's a pretty good one. And then one of my personal favorites, if you were willing to add in some turkey, there's one place called Cafe 50s in LA that's really good, like an avocado turkey BLT. So if you want to just take out the turkey it's still a really good BLT. So like those are two of my favorites. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm probably the odd person out on this whole sandwich thing now because I hate tomatoes in my sandwich.
Oh, I understand. Yeah.
It's a texture thing. It's like
Mhm.
I am like, oh my God, love salsa.
I'm on Team Tomato, but
Yeah, I'm just not. So many people are. That's why I'm like, I know I'm missing out on the BLT, but I could totally go for that turkey avocado, not tomato, bacon, and the
yes, I'm down with a turkey avocado and bacon sandwich. I mean, that's
hell
all.
I'd
yeah.
be willing to try that.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Cross to the California
I
side,
also
Jill.
might just add tomato to that, but
Oh, I'm leaving.
well, before it gets too sidetracked, I am going to set up our Facebook feed, and we're going to start the recording. Could always keep a backup.
Recording in progress.
So there you go
Okay.
for that. And then we always head over to our Facebook. And once upon a time, Facebook was where we started this show, and it was a big part of the show, and I still use it as the source of the audio of the podcast, and I rip it behind the scenes of how I create a quick audio podcast is I just stream the part that I care about being in the audio podcast on Facebook, and then I rip the audio off of that and just upload that right into the cloud, and then I add our intro, and there you go, and there's a quick 20-minute podcast.
Oh, magical.
But yeah, I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook anymore. Facebook, Davey, you and I haven't, talked about it. I've had a love-hate relationship with them over the last couple of months, them claiming that we're spam, all these different things when we're doing all the same things we've always done, and it's just ridiculous.
Bobby, it is ridiculous. To put it in perspective, they blocked Andy the Frenchie's Facebook channel. How could you do that? How could you do that? That's just out. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Twitch, like she's like one of the biggest like music streamers on there, and it's just like, so they're gonna do that, then they have no boundaries. It's ridiculous. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's annoying, and it's very frustrating, and I almost want to move off the platform, but so many, I mean, our biggest followings over that's where we started. I know everyone, with the exception of you, who I know through Twitch, but almost everyone on my show I've either met in real life and friends with, or met through Facebook, and so it's a very it's a frustrating thing, but it is what it is. We have to play the game, and I do like that it reaches a completely different audience, of local people to Washington D.C. area, and so but yeah, I wish more people in the DC area were on Twitch. It's really what it's down to.
Right.
All right, I'm going to start the stream right now, so we're gonna do 30 seconds of silence as we go live. I think we're live. All right. Welcome to episode 329 of Sports on the Hill podcast. This is Misery Monday, Caps and Ravens with special guest. Davey is eating a sandwich, and we're also celebrating the 49ers in hour 2 with Anna, and hopefully the Leon Lounge will be joining us as well. He's a very busy guy, but he's going to try to make time for us. And we haven't seen him since last year when we celebrated a win over the Cowboys, which was a very big win in last year's playoffs. And this is an even bigger one to propel them to the Super Bowl in a rematch of the 2020 Super Bowl. And so we'll be discussing all of that in hour 2. We'll even have Anna be joining us for some of the football talk, which I'm very excited about. And we'll have Champ and other guests as well. We're live here on Twitch, and we're also live on Facebook. So if you want to ask your questions, feel free to do that. You can use Channel Point redeems if you want to ask questions. I realize I rarely actually say that out loud, but yeah, if anybody wants to ask questions, you can use Channel Points and ask the host that. We are joined by the Power Play Point podcast duo of Gil and Anna Knox. They are on the show every week pretty much, and they do a great podcast as well. You can go to sportsothp.com, click the podcast partners button, click the Power Play Point podcast, or if you're in chat on Twitch, you can go here and join us over there. They also have a Facebook group that's a lot of fun if you want to talk more caps with them. We're also joined by Davey, and Davey is usually a guest of ours in other segments, but he's joining us today for the hockey segment and staying on for the football segment. He's doing the 2 hours with me. I get a true co-host for both hours. So I appreciate Davey joining us, and he in fact did a pre-podcast show over on his channel, which is Davey is Eating a Sandwich on Twitch. And so I appreciate the pre-podcast show, bringing your Raiden and all your friends and joining us tonight. How are you doing tonight, Davey?
Doing well. Yeah, I mean, definitely better than I was at the beginning of the day. A lot of chaos at work. I won't get into that, but things I think are settling down now. So I think we're good. We're doing well. What a privilege to be here. It's nice to see you all. Nice to meet Anna and Gil for the first time on stream. So
you too.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's great. So, Gil, let people know you guys had a wonderful podcast this week. We're just going to start with you letting people know who was on your show, and if people want to check that out as well, and then we'll get into some hockey talk.
Yeah. So this episode that just aired, well, we aired it a little early because it was the last game before the All-Star break for them. So we actually aired it 10 minutes after the Dallas game that ended that Saturday afternoon. We covered the 3 games on the road trip that were played that week, and then we had one of not only our loyal listeners but a loyal listener and watcher of this podcast, Troy Evans, who is a Special Olympics athlete. Had him on, and he shared his experiences with being an athlete there, and he's actually going for his 7th gold medal very, very soon in the bowling competition in Area 4, Virginia. It's Virginia Area 4 of the Special Olympics. So keeping tabs on that. So pretty good show if you want to pop in and take a listen. We're actually going to be off next week because again, no games, and I'm not going to pay the All-Star game one bit of heed, not even the skills competition, because I'm very
playing.
I get that he's playing, and I do want to kind of see how he does, but I mean, it's not even conferences. It's back to the pick teams thing, and it's like I wasn't a fan of that.
They're picking 4 teams. Is it still like the 4 like tournament style, but then they're picking 4 teams, or are they picking 2 teams?
I think they're picking 4 teams. I don't know. I'll be honest. I haven't paid much attention, but I mean, I'm really glad that he was a league selection, which legitimized, his skills, his coming of age and coming into prominence. But the league has again managed to screw things up for its own fans. So I'm skipping it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I used to love it as a kid. I don't know if I'm going to watch it, but I'll be honest, and we'll talk about it here. Next week, we're doing a special show on my Twitch stream, and I'll also be streaming it probably live on my personal Facebook page. But we are taking a week off of Sports on the Hill podcast because there is no Caps games and there are no NFL games. So all there is Wizards. I'm not hinging an entire show just on the so
shortest podcast ever.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to be doing a video editing stream. I'm behind on making my movie. I've gotten the first 9 parts out, but I really wanted to do some of it live. And so next week, to celebrate 700 followers on the channel and 500 YouTube videos, we're going to do a special, and I'm going to make make a video live with you guys. So you can watch the process and see it unfold with the music. And I'm actually hoping to get some special guests on, and so maybe some Twitch streamers. I haven't talked to anybody yet, but we're definitely, I'm thinking, I used to do Photoshop editing streams live, and people could join me on, and so I've done that for a bunch of big milestones and things like that. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to do video editing live, and maybe I'll have some guests join in. Maybe Anna, if you watch the skills competition, you and I could talk about it. So,
I'm on the fence too.
On the fence too.
I know. I'm glad Tommy's going. But I honestly was kind of hoping to see Strome go. Like
I know, honestly, that was the difference maker for me. I'm happy you just said that, because literally that was my thought process. Is if he had made it, I was going to watch it. but the fact that Tommy's the only one that made it, and basically the league gives every team one, like I don't know if that's enough, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I totally
Dave, do
agree.
you usually watch the NHL All-Star? And if no,
You know, yeah.
No, I mean, just to say, it's been a long time. Definitely been a long time since I watched a complete game. Like, I think the last time I saw it, they were. I think Gary Thorne did the play-by-play. That's how long ago it was.
Wow.
Yeah, I love the skills competition. I'm a big fan of it. Like, usually that's what I'll watch, and then I'll watch a little bit of it. And then if the players that I care about, like the Metropolitan, are doing well, I'll continue to watch the game. I actually probably watch more of it than most people do, but like, I don't know if I am, this year, because there's a lot going on in my life. So, and if no one else is going to watch it, we're not going to talk about it. It's less likely. But it is interesting because it's kind of deteriorated my interest level. I kind of didn't mind the Metropolitan one because it was kind of fun to watch Ovi have to, team up with Sid and be on a line together.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So that was kind of interesting to me. And I kind of like the opportunity that I've never gotten to root for Sidney Crosby before, but I get to because he's with Ovechkin. Like, I just thought that was kind of a cool moment. So I kind of enjoyed that. But if they take that out of it, then it's
Well, here's an interesting follow-up question to that. Like, would that have worked? Would that have occurred in the old system when it was Eastern Conference, Western Conference, because they are both in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, that's true. And I would have probably rooted for the Eastern Conference because I would have, so but the fact that they're like making teams, I guess my interest now is, once they've made these 4 teams, do I have any interest in anyone? Do I like Tom Wilson's teammates enough that I would want to actually watch the game? I guess.
Well, that's where I kind of have the issue, because I'm like, my God, if you're gonna tell me like Marchand's on his team, and like there's all these players that I'm like, I want to give you the benefit of doubt, but I just can't stand you. So no. But yeah, I think that it's just not what it used to be. Kind of the old school skill challenge was always my favorite. But we'll see. I'm glad that Tommy's getting, the nod, as we know that he has deserved. But I definitely was thinking Strom should have been right there.
I gotta say, I love the lively chat on Twitch, and shout out to that Eat Flat guy for joining. Ryan, who's a Canes fan, who's been on our show with us to talk Hurricanes in the past, and he's saying that he thinks it's funny to watch an All-Star get picked last, and how bad that they feel because they haven't gotten picked last in anything in their life. So so that is an interesting perspective there. So. But so yeah, it's of course the Bruins fan in chat says Marchand is the best, and you had to see it. That's fair enough. We've also had our chat light us on fire by using a redeem, which is kind of hilarious. And low bass guy, low bass guy is kind of the leader of our group on Twitch that I'm a part of, the community, the web creative community, which is cool group on Twitch. So shout out to them. A lot of awesome streamers over there, like Dead Flies, and I'm a big fan of Cover Time Pete. So oh, there's 2 Bruins fans in chat. Great. And Carly's not even in chat. One of our mods is usually a Bruins fan. So
well, here's the thing though. Like, I mean, and I will try to redeem myself to these Bruins fans who I'm on Twitch, but I will do my best. I've got respect. I think on paper and everything else that Marchand has talent. Fuck yeah. Of course. Obviously, we've seen it. It's just that other side of him that's just like, you just can't stand. However, I understand that Tom Wilson is probably that to the Bruins fans, and so I get it. I get it. So we can have our haters. I can have a Marchand and they can equally hate Tom. But to see them have to be on the same team or in the same, whatever, it is what it is. And then when they're all joking on the bench and being human and just being like just regular guys, we also get to see that side of them as well. So it's like, hey, I know I can be a total jerk on ice, but overall, I'm still, a hockey player.
Right. I love chat today. It's very lively. I do want to give a scoring update because there actually is a live Wizards game, and I haven't talked Wizards in a couple of weeks, but they've
Oh
made it
no,
close. It's a
Robbie,
60.
last time you did this though.
I know they fall apart when I talk about them.
Wait,
Yes, they
Robbie,
do. They do. So I'm
It
like,
was
oh my
pretty terrible.
God.
But they're in San Antonio, so no one's expecting them to win. But right now
Okay.
they've cut it to a 6-point game. But they did just foul this gigantic man. And so how do you pronounce his name, Davey?
Wembayana. Wembayana. I think it's just Wembayana. I just say Wembayana. And he has 14 points and 6 rebounds so far in this game.
I think everybody just calls him Wimby.
Wimby? Oh my God, he's so tall. I haven't really watched many of the Spurs games this year, but he's like, it's crazy how much taller he is than everybody else, and they're all giant people. So anyway, but yeah, that's wild. But yeah, now they've just made a free throw, 69-61. But
I think
we
they've
will
extended the lead since you started mentioning the game.
But I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, it was like a really big blowout in the beginning, and then it got close, and then it's teetered right around 10 points for most of the night, so it's it's staying at about the same. So we'll see how they do. There's 8:45 left in the third, so we will keep our eye on that to some extent.
Hopefully they don't fall apart again like month-old artisan bread sandwich.
Oh, Gil.
I appreciate you, Gil. That was great.
Don't encourage.
Worst
Davey.
ever.
Please do not encourage.
Not
because
even worth
it-
scraping the mold
it'll be
off of that
sandwich
stuff.
puns all night.
Yeah, that's so funny, Ryan. I was about to say, I thought of he's saying it sounds like he thinks of him as Gumby, which is very similar with the stretchy arm.
That's great.
I love that show as a kid.
That's a classic.
All that.
We
That's
actually
classic.
watched some
Gumby and Pokey.
It's definitely unique.
Yeah.
I remember too.
Yeah, I feel bad. We're like 15 minutes in. We haven't even talked about it. But anyway, it's fun. I'm enjoying
It's
it.
not like they had a great week, to be honest.
It's true. They did suck.
And I was going to be like, okay, is it Gumby? Or are you going to talk about like Eddie Murphy SNL Gumby?
Iconic.
Yes,
I totally aged
I'm
myself
Gumby,
on that
damn
one,
it.
but that's okay.
but we all get it. So you're in good company. Yeah, it was a pretty bad week for the Capitals. I'll go through the scoring real quickly, and then I'll get your guys' thoughts on each of the games.
Sure.
Yeah, so spoiler alert, we lose all three, but we'll go through them one by one. The first one was on Tuesday. It was against the Wild. It started off badly. We're down 2-0 by the end of the first. Our good friend Mojo Jojo scored his 7th of the season to make it 3-0 against us. So now he goes by Marcus Johansson, even though it's Johansson.
Johansson, yeah.
Johansson.
But I also don't you kind of feel like he was like really out to give the big old finger to the Caps, because I felt like he was just
yes
gonna do everything that he could before and then some.
I mean, to be fair, I think we did him right. We supported him, we brought him back, and there shouldn't be any animosity. But I mean, I get it that you get up for a previous game. So 7th of the season goes up 3-0, and then I wore the Mantha shirt, just because like I had to rep whenever he does well. The one person who's ever made merch for the guy, and it's discontinued merch now. So if anyone bought it,
So now it's a rarity.
It's a rare piece of merch,
collector's item.
I thought that maybe it could spur things. Gil, I'll stop it there. Gil, what were your thoughts at the beginning, and then the Mantha score up through that point in the game?
Mantha keeps upping his worth. In fact, not to jump too far ahead, but anybody who if he puts a puck out of play, you might want to hang on to that puck and keep it forever and ever and ever, because that will be a piece of memorabilia, because he may not be with the team much longer in about 6 weeks come the trade deadline, because he's probably one of the pieces that will get moved for sure. One of the few bright spots, certainly this week, if not the whole season. I had this game as a potential win for this team. I don't know what happened, but they just did not look 100% ready to play. They fell behind again, and a hallmark of this team this season, when they've chased the game, they're chasing the game after literally 97 seconds. 97 seconds it took for them to fall behind. And they were chasing the game the rest of the way.
5 minutes in, they're already down 2-0.
Yeah.
I didn't even tune in fast enough to see it, and it's just like I went back and saw it later. Then so after the 3-1 start, they lose them. They get 2 more goals scored on it. So at that point, it's a pivotal point because at 3-1 going into the third, if you can get that first goal, make it 3-2, it's a game, right?
Right.
And they unfortunately 137 into this period, they give up a goal. So that's the most demoralizing. And then Mojo piles on, gets another one, 5-1. And then we start to play. TJ Oshie gets a power play goal, and Mantha gets a goal at the very end to make it to 5-3. But it's just, it's too little too late at that point. Anna, I'll get your thoughts, and then I'll get Davey's thoughts on the whole game.
Yeah, we are a broken record on this one, where it's like this was definitely not 60 minutes, nowhere near, and there just seemed to be a huge disconnect with this team. And I'm all about the consistency and the chemistry, and it just was way off at this game, which was disappointing because I agree with Gil. Like, I really thought this could have been a W. And then I certainly didn't think we were going to win Colorado. But you know what? It might have given them a little bit of momentum and a little bit of like, fuck yeah, let's go. And I don't know. They didn't come out wanting to play 60 minutes. And that was disappointing. And I do hate that, for as much as we were so hard on Mantha in the beginning of the year, not all of us, but some of us, that he is kind of kicking ass right now, and I want to see that from across the board. Like, let's see everybody step up, and I think that's where Carberry's at right now, to be like, not just one player, everybody needs to step up. So this was a disappointing game, in my opinion.
Yeah, Davey, what are some of your thoughts from an outsider's perspective?
Well, I mean, I took the liberty of watching the segment from last week, and I agreed with what you said about this game. Like, of the 3 games on this trip, this was the one that was the most winnable by far. Like, this is the best chance they had to win a game on this 3-leg stretch, and then you win that game, and maybe you get another shot at. You can take your chances with Dallas, because Dallas gives up goals like crazy, especially in the third period. So it's like you had opportunities here.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I kind of noticed, speaking as the outsider into the third party, so to speak, here, there were definitely a lot of giveaways in this game. It just seemed like that was a theme throughout the night. It was kind of interesting how. Has that been an ongoing thing throughout the season? Like, it just seemed like it does seem like it could really catch up with them over time.
Honestly, I think that this is you have a 100% valid point, and I think we're all kind of shaking our head because nobody wants that, obviously. But I think that's what's the struggle is with this team, is that when you have the lines and they mesh and the chemistry's there and they're consistent, the players start to look like they're actually enjoying the game. Like they're having a good time. There's not still like the overshots or over this or over, overshooting or whatever it is, overpassing, whatever you want to call it. And I think they're just like at that point where they're just trying too hard, so now we're seeing these like stupid mistakes, and they just, Gil and I owe it. Like, we've been doing this for 6 or 7 years now, but we always basically have always said, really need to come back to the basics. It is time to come back to the basics of hockey. Like, enjoy what you're doing, play smart, pass smart, skate fast, all those kind of things. And it sounds kind of stupid to say for NHL, but it's the same thing. Like, when you interview somebody on the sideline for the in football, and they're like, we need to score more points. Well, duh. And I think like in hockey, it's like, well, we need to find, because it's such a fast game, you need to find that person that's like, they're in your head, you know how to read each other, you've got that chemistry going, and hell yeah, like we're in the game. So when you see the sloppy stuff, it's disappointing, and then it just seems to just kind of domino effect after a couple.
Yeah, 100%. I think I'm just gonna add one more thing from that game. You all weren't kidding about Johansson trying to stick it to the Capitals. Like he was going for the hat trick. Like it was like
Yeah,
near the end of the game, he really wanted that third goal. He
I
was
think so
shooting it.
too. Like I
It was
just feel like
crazy.
he just had like I don't know, Robbie. Like I feel like he had not a dislike for the cat, but just definitely wanted to give like the big thumb finger, middle
I mean,
finger
he,
to the Caps.
he's been let go by the team twice now. If you think
Yeah.
about it, we gave
Yeah.
him 2 chances, but he's also been
I mean,
let
that's
go.
on him. But I do, but there was just a
Yeah, and
little,
I agree.
there's a
He could
little
have.
edge to him that night.
Yeah, I wish we had seen more of that edge when he was
Yeah,
here. We probably would
no
have kept it.
shit. Yep,
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. So, this next game, honestly, I caught very little of, which I'm kind of happy about
Good.
because it's brutal. I'll go through
Because
this
if you
very
thought that
quickly.
somebody scoring 2 goals on you was rough, like how about
Yeah,
four?
this was.
Yeah,
He
this
double-sized it
sucks.
next night, you know?
I would rather have sat through all the Friday the 13th movies and all 3 Exorcist movies than watch this game.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Ooh.
but there's
It
some
was
good
that
Friday the
bad.
13th.
Yeah,
It
this,
was that friggin' bad. Um,
yeah.
well, especially when you consider they started so well. The first 19 minutes of this game, they were competing. Maybe they wouldn't have won, but they were at least keeping up. They were at least doing everything they could to win the game. And then one little mistake. And again, it turned the whole game around. Now it was late in the period.
It's a
It
shorthanded
was,
goal. Those
it
kill
was,
you.
but it was right. They did the 2 worst things you can do in the first period of the game: give up a goal in the last minute of the period and give up a shorthanded goal, all in one shot.
Yeah.
The 2 worst things you can do to start a game. And they did it. And it was a careless play. I got to say it. It was a careless play by both Ovechkin and Kuznetsov at center ice. Gave up the puck to, I believe it was Rantanen. And then he finds Makar, Kale friggin' Makar, probably the last guy you want going in on your goalie.
Yeah.
And he roofs it. And down 1-0. Everybody's -1 because it's shorthanded. And they go, after playing so well, you go into the locker room and you got to deal with that. And it killed them. It just killed them. And then from there, Nathan MacKinnon took the puck, ran away with it, and it was over.
Right. Well, give him one of the greatest players and currently, and I
the
feel like
greatest player in the league right now. I'll say it here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's funny because I heard you
That's
say
like
that
no joke. Like Gil
on-
was not kidding when he said that on our show.
I am not.
I heard it on his
believe it,
show,
though.
and I was
Like,
like, wow,
yeah,
he's doubling
like-
down on that. But he has a natural hat trick. And I want
Yes.
people to understand that
Yeah.
this is one of the most
Yeah.
difficult things to do. And not only does he do it, he did it in a period. So it's a natural hat trick in a
that's
period,
impressive.
which is even
Yeah.
rarer, to
Right.
do. And 2 on the
He's
power
great.
plays. So the power play is huge. I mean, he gave him 2 chances. He converted on both of them, and then he completed it. And Rantanen had a great time. I mean, he assisted on all of them. He had a natural hat trick of assists, and in this. So, which is also a rare feat to do in a period. But
Right.
anyway, but I want to get Davey's thoughts real quickly on this game because it's just.
I mean, very, very impressive performance by MacKinnon, no doubt about it. Like, I think there's definitely, I think Gil's early on it there. I mean, I always felt like Connor McDavid was the guy, but honestly, you can't really go wrong with either. Like, it's 2 really incredible players. This was tough. Like, going in, it was going to be tough. Like, the odds noted as much. Like, Colorado is extremely tough to beat on their home ice. With that win, they are now 20-5 at home. Like, that's a really, really good home record. In fact, it's the best in the NHL. Like, it's so when you're gonna play a team like that, you gotta do the little things, and they didn't. And it's just like Gil was saying, like, it's just the worst thing you could do. And I mean, you see it all the time, and the bigger the game is, the worse it sticks out. And it's just the unfortunate thing about it. It's like, to be in a game like that is great. You gotta ride it as much as you can, but when you make your own mistakes to lose a game, then, as can happen, the roof will cave in. So Just a bad, but again, it's not the game that you expect to win anyway. So if these things, and again, this is just a continuing theme. It seems like cleaning up the little things is something that can be worked on over the course of the second half of the season as we get into there. I don't know, but certainly it's. I was gonna say this was an easy one to write off until we got into the nuances of it. Yeah, that's kind of rough. I'm not gonna lie, but still, you lost to they lost to one of the great teams in the Western Conference. Not the worst, the most amount of shame overall, but still, you definitely were hoping for a better performance.
Yeah, and so that wasn't even all the scoring, which is kind of crazy. That's just the end of the second period. And then Dylan Strome scores 2 for us. And this is why I'm like, he's been our MVP. And the fact that he didn't make the All-Star game, I mean, it's just a popularity contest, and Dylan Strome doesn't have that level of popularity, unfortunately. But I get it. But it's like, I wish if he had made it with Tom Wilson and they got on the same team for whatever this thing, I would have rooted for that. I'll put it that way. But Nathan McKinnon also got another one sandwiched in there for his 4th in there, and Rantanen, because he had so much fun having assists in the second, got on the scoring side of the goal there.
So talented.
Yeah, and so I'm going to ask Gil a quick question, because knowing how good this team is at home and knowing that we stole their goaltender, who we thought that was the reason why they won the cup, blah, 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 but it was really their defense, why not flip it and really try to steal that first game in a nearly impossible, it's 2 games that are very difficult in 2 consecutive nights. Why not push harder for the Wild game, put the guy who's been better in goal in that game, try to steal that one, and know that we're probably going to lose this one 6-2 to the Avs no matter what, right? Mm-hmm. I think it was, you're trying to get both, maybe, is the hope.
Well, that might have been the mentality in part, but I understand starting Kemper against Minnesota. Ironically, this was 2 teams that Kemper both used to play for, but I understand starting him in that first game. Charlie has still, I'm not saying, he's still feeling the effects, but he is still recently injured coming off of that, even though he's had a couple of games. So maybe give him, a little bit more rest. But yeah, I mean, you're thinking Minnesota is the weaker team. Kemper will probably have a chance to do well, but yeah, maybe not the greatest call.
I think you'd want to do over. I think you would do it differently. I don't know.
Maybe so, but I mean, you're just saying, I think he did not want to, the coaching staff didn't want to necessarily concede the game to Colorado. And so you figure you put your hot hand in for the second game and, hope for the best.
But yeah,
because Charlie's been lights out ever since, for a while, for the whole season at least. So you figure that much firepower you're going to face, at least look good doing it, which is all we could have hoped for. But yeah, I don't think it was the goaltending. I mean, I'm not going to question that call too much, but I mean, maybe you get the 2 points, but a lot of things went wrong in those first 2 games.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. And any quick final thoughts before we get into the slightly better game of the 3 games?
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, it was painful. It was painful, but I will say that the one thing that kind of I got out of this game is when you're thinking about Colorado and you're like, oh my God, McKinnon and the hat trick and his speed and the skill and who he is. Then when you're looking at the Caps, I'm like, who is our McKinnon? Like, who's our badass right now? Our consistent badass player. Who is it? And that's what Gil and I kind of talked about yesterday. And it's like, I throw it out there, not throwing the team under the bus, but it's like, we used to be able to be like, oh my God, Ovechkin's this, and, Carlson's that, and Wilson's this, and this and that. But right now, we don't consistently have that badass player. We don't have that McKinnon. Not to say that we don't have a player who could be a McKinnon. We just are not seeing it. So I think that I kind of really made me step back with the team, and my expectations are not going to be as high, but I'm okay with that because every change, every team's going to go through changes and stuff. But I really walked away from this game thinking, holy shit, 6-2, but okay, but who's our McKinnon? Like who's our badass on the team right now? That other players are like, oh shit, I don't want to go up against this goalie. I don't want to go up against this forward. I don't want to go up against this, whatever it is.
Strom has been our best player, but he's not going to strike fear into people, So like, it's just,
yeah.
I wouldn't mind adding to. Would you be all right if I add to that a little bit, Anna?
Yeah,
I love
please.
your point because I think that's the longer term goal is for the Capitals to get that person, and I feel like if you're going to do that, the way you do it is through the draft. And so Gil made a point like last week during the show about asking the question of, is this the time to trade? And I know it's Robbie's boy, but Mantha is probably a good candidate for mid-season trade. You mentioned a lot of guys, Wilson and Carlson and people who have been on the team since the Cup run, and even before that, like even people who've been on the team. I think there's even one player, I think it was Carlson, who was there before I moved to LA, and that's a long time ago now. That's crazy. It's great. It's a great run. I mean, don't get me wrong, but so is this the time to trade for, trade the assets you have, the people who've done the things and done the things, get some value for them, whether it's in draft picks or maybe younger players that can be the next big thing. Like, is that the thought for the Capitals front office, either the midseason or in the offseason? I'm thinking you do it midseason too, because some of these guys still have juice in the tank, even Oshie, although I know Oshie's an interesting one because Oshie has been playing well this week, so I don't know, but maybe that increases the argument. What do you all think about the midseason moves here?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and speak to some of this because it's difficult because certain players I think are kind of untouchable in the sense of I don't think you can trade a TJ Oshie. He's too much of a fan favorite. He means too much to the team, and you see it in the numbers of the team when he's playing on it or not. It's not even about the minutes; it's just about the leadership that he gives in the intangibles, right? So I don't think that he's on it, nor is a Tom Wilson, or an Ovechkin or any of those sorts of people. I couldn't see Mantha and some of these other players maybe being expendable. I really think that we found a lot in Dylan Strome, so I doubt that he would be. We do have a lot of good players that are in our farm system, and so they're a year or two out, and so we might have to ride it out a little bit to see how good they are, because they might be pretty good. I mean, they're looking at some of the goalies in Hershey; they look really good, and.
Hunter Shepard.
I
want to see Joe Snively. Come on now. Bring him. Let's see him.
So I think that there's a lot of players that are in the thing. So I definitely think you could trade some people, but I don't know if you need to just go, and sell everybody off and try to go for a complete rebuild. But Gil, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, real quick. And I'm open to any deal except for one that involves any draft picks or any of the prospects, any of the current prospects of the system. They
no. Don't get me wrong. I meant the other way. I don't mean.
Oh yeah. No, I know what you were saying, Davey, and it's just it's not so much. It's you got to look at it both ways. You got to look at what you're getting, but also what you're giving up.
Yes.
And I mean, okay, fine. Give up roster players, fine, and give the younger guys maybe a quick preview of what it's going to be like in the league, but do not trade the prospects, the draft picks. They've already made that mistake. So as long as it's not such a deal that involves any of that, Ryan Leonard, Miroshnichenko, those two guys definitely no touch.
Yeah,
they stay. Yeah. Any team asks for them, no deal. Howie Mandel come out, no deal. Slam the door. I don't care. But seriously, that's but legit. Anthony Mantha. I just thought of this guy. Nick Dowd is definitely someone whose collateral has gone up this season. Maybe you get a mid-round, maybe even a high draft pick for a guy like that, or package them for a nice deal. But it has to be a deal that makes sense. And anything if the other party asks for any piece of the Caps' future, no, can't do it.
I love that.
Yeah. I think I agree with that sentiment. Let's get into this Stars game real quick. So Anthony Mantha scored. They got 2 goals. So one it was right away. I didn't even get a chance to enjoy the goal. Like I watched it and I watched it fall apart. And then I was like, I gotta turn this off. I got other stuff I need to be working on with the kids and doing other stuff. I'm like, I'm gonna just not watch. I have YouTube TV, so I can turn things on and off and rewind and whatever on my phone whenever I need to. But so I kind of thought it was a little bit over, but then we tie it up. And then we go down 4-2 by the time I get to check in again. I'm like, oh, we're down 4-2. This game's probably over. And the next thing I find out, it went to overtime and we lost. And so I had to go back and see, like, well, how does this happen?
Yeah.
And it's actually a really interesting story. And so Ovechkin scores on the power play, a howitzer of a shot from the point. And TJ Oshie's 4th assist, Kuzi's 11th assist, and it makes it 4-3 with a man advantage and a goalie pulled, right? So a 6-on-4 goal. And then Dylan Strome scores his 19th of the season at 1917, assist by Anthony Mantha, and Ovi's 22nd assist of the season. And this is a very interesting goal that takes advantage of a new rule in the NHL that I was unaware of. So let's get through this one. So they scored the goal, but the whistle is blown, which, knowing our luck, means that the play is dead. On the ice, the guy waves it off as a no goal. So technically on the ice, it stood as a no goal. But then they got to review it as a group of people, and then they decided it is a goal because there's a continuation. So the call on the ice is it is a goal, but they will review it. And then they go back to the NHL. The NHL reviews this.
Why did they have to review it?
Why did they have to review it, Gil?
Because it happened in the last minute of the period, the last minute of the game, in the 59th minute of the game. That's when it happened. Right. It's in the rule that Toronto has to be involved if the goal is scored in the 59th minute of the game. Doesn't matter what happens the other 58 minutes before, the other 58 and 59 seconds. Does not matter. No, if it happens in the last minute of the game, we got to look at it.
Right. So this is kind of screwed us over before, Davey, as you can kind of
see
reaction to that. So they review it and they decide that it was going in regardless of the intent of the whistle. So it's a new rule that says that the whistle goes off, but the goal was already going to go in. So it's not that there's been a beat after the whistle, then he shoots it, it's a goal, right? That it was already in the air while the whistle was being blown and it went in, which is true. If you guys go back and watch it, it is in the air. It was going off. It didn't change he didn't have enough time to react to the whistle that it changed whatever he was doing before it. Right? That's what they deemed. The new rule, did not know about it. I was talking to a streamer who's a big Stars fan today, and he was not happy about it. He was talking about it actually as he was rating out, which was kind of hilarious with me. Yeah, it's a new rule. Interesting. We got a bunch of new rules in effect, and the fact that the NHL had to review it in the first place. But Davey, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it was a wild ending to that regulation, wasn't it? All that happened within the last 2 minutes of regulation time. What a crazy comeback that was!
Yeah,
I was not even keen to all of the goal reviews and all that. Like just seeing that they came back with 2 goals to tie the game. That's a remarkable comeback by Washington, no doubt. So I mean, just chaotic. I guess it just goes to show, if you're never out of a game when you play the Stars. I've seen so many goals in the third period of every Stars game I watch, especially the games that are in Dallas. It's crazy. So you got to give a lot of credit to the Caps, putting that together, despite the struggles in the earlier parts of the game. Obviously, you want to see it done in overtime, but the man who scored the game winner scored a second overtime winner in as many overtimes, I think, for Dallas. So
I think it's as many games. I think it's 2 overtimes, 2 games in a row, and he won both of them. So
yeah. So anyway, a wild game, and that was probably the second most winnable game of that stretch. You definitely look back, you'd say, it was nice. It was good that they made it a game. As you mentioned, they were down 2 goals in the middle of the third period, so obviously didn't look good at that point. But definitely some credit to the Capitals. Not the first time they've made a comeback like that. They made it against the Rangers a few weeks earlier. They were down a couple goals, and they came out and they won. I think they maybe even won in regulation, but I'm not sure. But really, really good stuff.
I think
So
they did.
wow.
Yeah, they actually have done this a bunch over the years, and I like that we can see that it happens because I think it'll give them confidence in similar situations in the future, even in a loss. There are certain losses that are bad losses. The previous game could be an example of that. This is in some ways a good loss because it's some teachable moments, and you got a point out of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's in a situation where you probably shouldn't get a point in many games. You're down 2 goals with 2 minutes left. You kind of count your blessings to some extent. I was hoping that they were able to finish it off and get the win, obviously. But
I'll say
fair, I
this:
didn't even know it was
if
gonna
that
happen.
overtime was against the Kings, y'all would have won because the Kings suck at overtime anyway.
I don't know. Our overtime isn't great. I feel like shootouts okay sometimes. I don't know. It's hard to know what I feel like we play for a shootout a lot of the time, and just kind of hope to win it in that circumstance. And I don't know if that's always the right decision, but yeah, I guess with Lindgren in, maybe I would try to play for a shootout to some extent. Anyway, the reason we lost that game is because we gave up an odd man rush in overtime, and you give up one of those and it's over. Which is kind of the point of 3-on-3 hockey to begin with. We had our opportunity on one end, didn't go in. It sets up a fast break going the other way, and they capitalize on it, which is how most overtimes that are won in overtime end. So as Gil alluded to earlier in the segment, we don't have a game for a while. The next game isn't until Tuesday, February 6th. So we will take the next week off of our Caps Talk segment. We don't really have any games to preview, so to speak, but we will obviously recap those next couple of games the following week. It'll be Montreal, Florida, and Boston. But I guess looking ahead a couple of weeks, Gil, do you have any thoughts on that on the other side of the break?
Well, it's probably I don't want to sound repetitive, but that whole schedule of games, that whole week sounds like a carbon copy of the last 3 games. One winnable, one kind of iffy, and one really, really, really tough opponent. And again, well, I mean, I keep saying it. I have to keep saying it because I don't think not all Caps fans realize it, but this is a transition year. They've decided not to rip the Band-Aid off, but they've also decided not to keep what they got either. So it's a retoolish rebuild. I don't know what you want to call it, but they're going in that direction. So new coach too, and he's trying to get these guys, to his credit, to trying to teach them how to play to win games. And next year, the kind of game where they lost to Dallas, they win. Maybe in regulation, maybe in overtime, but they're learning how to play to win. And when you're learning how to do that, you're going to make a lot of mistakes along the way. So I think, unfortunately, we're probably going to see maybe the same results, maybe better, maybe they sneak a win against Florida and make a good effort against the Bruins. That's really all I'm looking for. I don't want to sound pessimistic, but really that's the best we can hope for at this point.
And sadly, I actually forgot a game. So after going to Boston, they have to fly home, play Vancouver on Super Bowl Sunday at 1:30 at home, which is an automatic L because Vancouver is one of the best teams in the NHL. And I do not think that they play. I'm looking at their schedule to see if they play the night before, but I seriously doubt it.
And don't we kind of have
they do. They play the day before in Detroit. So at least they
have to try on Super Bowl Sundays.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Interesting.
It's an afternoon game, which they already don't do well.
But I always feel like Super Bowl Sunday Caps game is just a big old
L. Yeah. In fact, I went to it last year. So I can at least attest to it personally. Wow. It was very first game ever. My dad took me,
That's
and
right.
we sat on the glass. So I have no complaints. We got to see hockey before watching the Super Bowl, and I got to take my kid to his first hockey game. So I don't have any complaints. But they do not play very well in that.
No.
So
Wow.
I won't, even if somebody gave me tickets, I'm like, I don't
yeah.
know, Super Bowl
Especially if your
Sunday
49ers,
afternoon
your
jinx.
49ers are also playing. So you have a very like
That's
vested
right.
interest in the
I
Super
gotta I
Bowl.
gotta be all like
Positives.
100% for that.
Yes, exactly. Um,
Yeah.
Gil, real quickly, did we ever figure out a date of when they're going to do that hockey game? I know you put it out there, but I don't think we ever came to a conclusion, did we?
Right now I have two in mind. And speaking of afternoon games, one of
The
them is
third.
March the 3rd. That's a 1:30 puck drop, I think, against the Coyotes.
Yes.
The other date I have in mind is the Friday night of that week, the 7th, against the Blackhawks.
No.
I'm kind of hoping Connor Bedard is ready by then, but I don't think he will be. I don't think he'll be back by then. So it looks like we're leaning towards the 3rd.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, full disclosure, I have some family issues going on. My wife is going to be having surgery in a few weeks, so that's a bit of a monkey wrench in the plans, but we'll figure something out.
Yeah. And if you guys end up going to the other one, I might take Zach to the third. Because I would like to take him to a day game, just because it's too hard for a kid.
It's probably going to be the third. Conveniently enough, the promotion for the game on the 3rd is Kids Day.
Oh, okay. Well, then
I didn't know if
really?
you knew that.
I did
know
not.
that.
Yeah, that's the promotion.
It's funny because they did a Kids Day, I believe, for the Super Bowl last year. So it'd be kind of cool to see another one of those. So
because they're like, let's pick the worst game. How about let's pick that afternoon Super Bowl game. Let's invite the kids.
Right, exactly.
That's good. It's good marketing.
So yeah, that'll definitely be a tough one. So I'm hoping to go 50-50, but I think it'll be tough to come out of that one. But Davey, you had a thought that you wanted to put out.
Yeah,
there.
just to say best wishes to your wife. I mean, best of luck with the surgery. Hopefully, it's a good surgery and everything.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I feel the
100%
as Davey. So yes, and you know that we're always here to support you, as we have supported many of our members that have unfortunately gone through difficult things this
yeah.
So it's been a tough year for many of the people on this team. But I appreciate everybody's good thoughts to all those people, and I'll have good thoughts for your wife as well. And so yeah, I guess it's gonna end it for our Caps Talk segment. We went a couple minutes over, but Gil, let people know one last time about the Power Play Point podcast before we let you go.
So our latest episode is already out. We aired it early Sunday morning, actually, is when it got published. You can find us on just about any podcast distributor out there. Podbean's our main distributor, but we're on Apple Podcasts as well, Spotify, streaming services. You can find us, or just Google Power Play Point podcast. You can find us. And if you want to contact me about being on the show, I'll just give out my email. It's glhallowed@yahoo.com. We love having Caps fans on. It's our hallmark. You want to talk about the Caps, you have an opinion, please do come on the show. We'd love to have you on. We just had a guest on this past week, so love having him on. So thanks once again, Robbie, for having us on.
Yeah, look forward to talking to you in our Super Bowl post game podcast, and we'll talk about those 4 games in a couple of weeks. We'll talk to you then. All
right. I would like to do a bit of a segue into the football talk.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
I mean,
wait. I need to know. We're not singing.
No singing.
Okay.
She hates it when I sing.
Is it a sandwich pun?
No, it's not that either. But it's a Ravens fan's view of what happened. What happened.
All right.
Well, all right. So all the fans went to M&T. It was cold enough to wear a cardigan. they took one look at the Chiefs, who came in, said, "I knew you were trouble, but we're fearless nonetheless." But never in our wildest dreams did we think that we would miss the date with the gold-rushing 49ers at the Super Bowl. However, Lamar, instead of looking for a blank space, baby, threw into triple coverage. Not to be mean, but the anti-hero Travis Kelce did his thing. That's when we knew all too well that the Lamar Hunt Trophy, well, Chiefs took a look at it and said, "You belong with me." And then all of our Ravens fans together, we're left to face a cruel summer.
Oh,
Give it
Gil.
up for Gil, everybody. Oh my God.